Hi, everybody. This is Chris,
And this is Matt.
and this is XCOM, or UFO Defense, or UFO Enemy Unknown, or I don't know, like 100 different names.
Yeah, depending on where you're from.
Depending
In
on where you're
England,
from.
it's enemy unknown. In the colonies, UFO defense.
And this is not a review. It may
No.
look like a review, but that's just a blurry picture. Maybe a
Right.
pie
It
plate
has
with a light.
it has several review-like qualities without actually being a review. It's kind of a niche that we've settled into. So
Right.
I
So,
noticed you chose the English cover. Is that because it's way more awesome than the American cover, which was totally boring?
100%. And the
Ugh.
English cover really, the US cover, um, I don't know. I don't feel like it represents the gameplay.
No, it's like a ship that's sailing around this orange planet,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't really get to do that in XCOM. You're never really flying around an orange planet, and also it's way boring compared to this. Like this kind of leans into the pop sci-fi
Right.
art style that I really like, and they kind of like have in the game. I'd
Yeah.
say the game's more comic book art style than pop sci-fi.
Right. Right. Well, the game came out in like 1991. Let me take a look at something here.
Yep. We're doing our research as you watch, folks.
Yes.
We Google around
We
before,
we
we
do.
have
We
we take notes. We got some notes on Mythos games that we're gonna razzle dazzle you with in a minute.
we haven't been accused of having a script in a long time for some reason. Um I mean, this game came out in 1991 and X-Files came out in 1993.
Coincidence?
X-Files ripped them off. Julian
Definitely.
Gallups owed some money, man. No, he does credit that X Files helped prop this up. Obviously, it helped the sales.
Someone in a review said this bought turn-based strategy gaming to the masses. I don't know if that's true. That's like a little grand,
That's
but
way grand considering Civilization had already been out and SSI had been doing stuff for forever.
yeah.
Um,
And to the masses, I think is also a bit generous because I don't think this sold. It wasn't like a blockbuster. We should probably start this video though. Those guys creep me out.
well, I wanted to talk about these guys, and then we got off track. We do that on the show because these guys, like you mentioned, there's a comic book art style to them, and
Mhm.
these guys and the stuff I'm about to show are definitely super comic booky, but they look like heroes. And I want to bring that up later, but XCOM isn't about heroes.
No, I think that I look like the one on the right, and you look like the one on the left. If we had to, uh, you know,
Stage left.
oh no, buddy. Yeah, yeah. No. So when we trot out our joint Halloween costume,
Why do I only come up to your crotch? I have so many questions.
just like real life.
I do know why I'm pointing the gun at your head, though. That is not.
My beautiful hair there,
You standing looking off into the distance
as I am
like
wont to
an
do.
indie record.
Yep.
All
Here
right.
we go. Micropros, the big
Micropros.
micropros.
And the comic book art opening, which sets the tone for the game, but also doesn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah. We should also note, like, this is the first. We've played this game on this channel before, and we're playing it because
Yes.
it's our 5 year, uh, whatever,
We've been
our
doing this for
5 year
5 years. We
anniversary.
just passed 1,000 subscribers. We wanted to just kind of enjoy ourselves for a month, so we chose this.
Not that we don't enjoy ourselves every month,
Right,
but
but
in different ways.
different ways. But would you say this is your favorite game?
I don't think that I would.
Really?
I think that I want to like XCOM more than I actually like XCOM. There's
Okay.
so much I love about it. Um, and it's one of those games that when I start playing, I feel like there's this infinite possibility. And this time, this is how I'm going to do it. And I'm going to plan it out and it's going to be awesome. And it never goes that way.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but that's XCOM. Like,
That's
that is the
XCOM.
game.
Yeah.
Uh, but, you know, but I love XCOM. Like, it is up there. It's one of the games that really made me fall in love with, computer gaming.
What is your favorite game then?
Um, Dung Beetles for the Apple IIe, just like Pac-Man.
My bad for asking. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I don't know what my favorite game is. It just like it totally depends on the day. There's nothing that I'm like, this game is everything that a video game should be. I don't
Yeah.
ever want to play anything else. Like I'm emotionally connected to a lot of different games for a lot of different reasons.
Right.
That's a cop out answer. So I said
No.
Dung Beetles.
Like my kids ask that all the time too. Like, what's your favorite this? I'm like, I'm so old. I don't have favorite things
Hmm.
anymore.
Who's your favorite kid? Or is it same deal?
That the Sailor Moon Fry, the girl who played Punky Brewster.
Yeah, mine's Jaden Smith.
Jaden Smith.
He's not a kid anymore, but still.
The girl from Poltergeist, or I can't even have like a favorite movie kid. Like, there's so many good movie kids. Like,
Yeah, and so many bad ones.
oh, so many bad ones.
I'll take all the Goonies. Like they can come over and hang out,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll like make them a frozen pizza or
Yep.
pizza rolls or whatever they want.
The
Bring those
guys from
Goonies
Monster
kids
Squad.
over. Yes.
Any of those kids. I mean, they're brave enough to kick Wolfman in the nards, so
Yeah.
they can come hang out.
Without even a clear understanding of whether or not Wolfman had
No,
nards.
you got to test. It's the scientific method.
Right.
All right,
I love that movie.
back to
So
XCOM.
XCOM.
1991, Mythos Software, published by Microprose. During the development of this, for those who don't know the story, Microprose was bought by another company who canceled XCOM. And Microprose chose not to tell them.
A solid strategy.
Solid strategies. Like, well, what if we don't tell them? And so after a couple months, the new company was like, man, we need something new. We need something like, well, remember that game you told us to cancel? We didn't.
Yeah. And XCOM was born.
XCOM was born. And like one of the previous games to this was Laser Squad. And I'm trying to remember some of Gollop's other games. But they were what got him this sort of contract with Microprose.
Have you played Laser Squad?
I have.
Is it fun?
I've played Laser Squad. I think it's another
Gotcha.
one of those you need people. It needs to be a head-to-head game.
Yeah.
A lot of his early stuff was intended to be head-to-head gameplay.
Yeah. Fair.
And it doesn't have this.
One thing that struck me about this, you mentioned head-to-head gaming. This time when I played XCOM, I was like, I'm not gonna have anything to say because everything I said 5 years ago. So I'm gonna like read up on how people play XCOM, and it never really struck me how much the aliens are another player in this game. It's
Yes.
basically like a multiplayer game against the computer. And I never have thought about it that way until I read that. Like the
Really?
aliens are doing things and like I mean I always knew I was fighting aliens. I'm not stupid.
No,
But I
no.
never thought of it like as a cohesive monolith of aliens, another player that I'm playing with.
Well,
Does that
and-
make sense?
Yes. And that comes back to what the game does well or awfully, depending on your particular flavor of gameplay. You don't see what the other side's doing. So, like, I built my base in North America. I usually do.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Ethnocentric, but
Ethnos-
also
yeah,
prudent.
whatever. I like playing me in games, and me lives in North America. Deal with it, people.
In northwestern Wisconsin, I see there.
Northwestern Wisconsin, yes. Can't get too accurate up there, but somewhere up there in that region.
Oh, the YouTube stalkers will
I know.
show up.
Yeah. Look for my base called Northwoods.
Mhm.
Anyway, because of that, like India and China, I never do well with them. My satellites sort of never get to cover their stuff. So they're getting attacked all the time. And you'll notice the farther away your bases are, the more like those are the nations that are like, nah. And they'll be the first ones to flip and join the aliens.
Right. The thing that's interesting though, like knowing that you kind of like can do things like I can just send my Sky Ranger with its radar over and just like have it fly around. I
Yep.
never would have thought of that because I never thought of there being a definite strategy. But like all the guides say, like look at the graphs because the graphs will tell you what
Yeah.
to do next. And that's really true. And I think maybe I have underappreciated that for many years playing XCOM.
Well, I think a lot of people who sit down to play XCOM, and I was about to say this at the beginning, think of it as that tactical screen. That it's the screen where you're in there shooting aliens in a city or a farm or a jungle. And that is a sliver of what XCOM is.
Hmm.
It's it is a global war strategy game where you are managing the resources and funding of your organization against another organization that's doing exactly the same thing.
Yes. Yep. And it's easy to miss that because so much of it is
Hidden.
obfuscated from you. But there's definitely hints. Like if you're savvy, perhaps more savvy than I have been all these years, you can like see, okay, this is a giant spaceship and it's flying over,
Mm-hmm.
and like, you know, if you start save scumming, especially like when bad things happen and you just like reload and see the same ship flying over, you get a sense of where it's going.
Right.
And like that all feeds into the larger story and should help you govern what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds obvious now saying it, but I was just like kind of like, okay, there are, lots of aliens in Europe.
Oh well.
Yeah, not like, oh, I need to like look for a base and I need to blah blah blah
Right.
do something.
You need to go hunting aliens in Europe. It's like, yeah, no, it's. I will say the interface on this screen is simultaneously wonderful and terrible. It gives you everything you need to control your units, but it gives you everything you need to control your units, and maybe
There's
a
so
little
many
editing.
buttons.
Yeah,
So much information, so many buttons. I would say definitely play XCOM. Definitely get over the steep learning curve, and then it's definitely possible you'll do that and then realize you don't really like XCOM.
well, so XCOM is. I was going to say this one way, but I'm going to say this another way. My daughter was watching me play this yesterday, and a little, like 15 minutes in, she's like, I want to play The Sims now for some reason. This isn't a game as much as it's a military Sims.
Can you decorate your base?
Yeah,
Can
basically.
you like get download wallpapers for your
You can't download wallpapers, but you can pick where you want your, like,
yeah.
you know, you can pick
That's one
where
of the
your stores are and have a workflow to, like, how things should be. And
right.
I don't think that factors in. I would have to look and see if there's some hidden stuff. Like if it would be interesting, and it would be the sort of thing he'd do where if the workshops were next to the general stores, they manufacture faster.
Yeah.
That would be
Right.
kind of
There's
cool. But I don't think that is. So don't presume that is.
there's a lot of math going on in this thing. But what it does affect is your base invasions. So
Yes.
like it does behoove you to be thoughtful about your base layout because you're gonna have to defend it against
Hmm.
the alien hordes.
and there's only certain places the aliens can come in. So if you group those together, you can like snake them off so they can't just spread into your base too quickly. And your base attacks are determined by the number of people you have at your base. The more people that you have, the easier it is for the aliens to detect. So if you put several small bases, you can put like radar outpost places with maybe like a staff of 10 to defend them, and they might never get detected.
Right.
But if your main base that's got 50 scientists who will not help with the defense, that's more likely to get detected.
Can I just say, like, as terrible as it would be to be a clearly poorly trained XCOM soldier, I would take that job over being an XCOM scientist because I think that's the worst job in XCOM.
XCOM
Can you
scientist?
imagine? Can you imagine if you showed up one day at work and your boss was like, "Hey, I found this thing. I need you to figure out what it is," and you were like, "Okay," and then like at the end of the month, they're like, "Also, I'm going to send you to Europe, and I'm going to send everyone from Europe back over to the United States. And while that's happening, you're not going to get a paycheck." That's what you can do to your scientists in this game. You can hire 100 scientists, and then at the end of the month, have them swap bases. And if they're in the air at the end of the month, you do not have to pay them.
That's hilarious.
I learned that while I was reading the shitty ways people play XCOM. Like, God, those guys should unionize. That's terrible.
I was gonna say you get to play and mess with cool stuff, and you never risk your life. Like, there's never scientist dies in strange lab accident. It's always
That's true. It's relatively safe, but
relatively
man,
safe. Yeah, if you've died as the scientist, it's because so has the rest of the base.
exactly. Do you choose one thing to research and then see it all the way through with all your scientists, or do you put one poor scientist on every project and
One
just
on
like let
every
him?
project, and then one
Yep.
that I just dump everybody else on that I really really want.
Yeah.
And we'll see that eventually in here when we're playing. Do you do you become an arms dealer at any point in time in your XCOM playthroughs? Like we
I
start manufacturing laser weapons and selling them rather than using them?
I do. I have not been successful at XCOM any other way. Like I need I don't do the scientist thing because I think I know you always say if you can do it in the game it's not cheating,
Mm-hmm.
but it feels like an exploit or something because I'm guessing like the cost is just calculated based on the base population.
Oh,
So I don't do that with my
I
scientists,
don't do that
but
either. Yeah,
uh,
I thought you meant the one per everything. I'm like, that's not an exploit. Like I would have one guy working like start on this so that when the rest of us get there, we have some groundwork laid. You know what I mean? Like,
sure, no, that's fine. But
but you mean
but
the
the
plane shipping them over the ocean? Like
right.
you're over international waters, no paychecks for anyone.
Yep. Sorry, all 100 of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is my research strategy too, and then dump a bunch in whatever you're most interested in.
Yeah. In this case,
But
motion
yeah,
scanners. Because the ships were
yeah.
starting to get big here, so my thought was maybe I didn't go for the motion scanner. Did I go for plasma rifle first? The ships
Do
were
you
starting
research?
to get big, and I'm like, I don't like looking for that last alien.
Yeah,
And I lost a couple of my favorite people on the last mission that I probably could have handled if I had had a motion sensor. Because I sent one
yeah.
through the door and she got shot. And I'm like, oh, she was my favorite. Well, at least that guy's used his reaction shot. So I send another one through the door. I'm like, well, at least he can't have any more time units left. So I send another one through the door. And I'm like, son of a bitch.
It's the Zap Brannigan maneuver. I use it often.
And then I come around the corner with someone else and there's two of them there. And I'm like, well, there's your problem.
Yep. That's the thing when I said that I might not like XCOM as much as I think I do. That's one of the things. Like when I was reading about how people play XCOM, people were like, here's a like a drawing of how I stagger my troops so they're maximally avoiding alien grenades and covering each other as they move. I don't think you can really do that. I think that's just people on GameFAQs
full of shit.
being full of bullshit. Yeah, because no plan that you come up with in XCOM is going to stay the same, and you are not like executing a perfectly outlined raid or anything. You are like just trying to make it through every one of these combats.
There are things you can do to improve your chances. Like when I breach a door, I put people on each side of it and I have somebody pointed at the door. So as it goes through, if that person dies, then people are like aimed in to shoot whatever might be happening. There's stuff you can do like that. But yeah, if you're sitting down, pulling out graph paper and going, okay, I need someone here, 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 and here, it will probably help, but it's not like it's going to necessarily always save you. Because I had one game I was playing this month where I marched one person off the Sky Ranger. One. One. The next 3 reaction shots were one person shot that guy in the head, and then 2 people threw alien grenades into the Sky Ranger.
XCOM.
That's XCOM, baby.
Yep.
Yeah, there was nothing. Everybody died. I could not get people far enough away from the explosions.
Right.
Everybody died.
I think there might be. I've never tried this because I do not have the patience. But like you could probably, if you were super patient, eke out, keep everyone under cover, make very small advances, covered advances. But man, those combats would take 1,000 years, and I don't think it would be that much fun. It's way more fun to put a tank on there and then just send the tank out.
Yeah, I mean, so this was one of the things I found interesting playing through this time as opposed to 5 years ago. Because since 5 years ago, I've played the new XCOM and XCOM 2 a lot more. And my view of how I treat my soldiers and stuff like that is very different. Because in the new XCOMs, with the leveling up, there's an attachment, there's a desire not to see them die. There's more involvement in each individual character as opposed to looking at it as a full back war strategy thing. And so I took more precautions as opposed to like pulling a pin with the rookie and marching him into the oncoming fire. Where I think this XCOM was meant more for you're going to lose a lot of people and be okay with that.
Yeah, if you have a bent toward perfection, this is not the game for you.
Right.
Like that, I have often gotten stuck in early game because I think that I can do better on a mission, and then I restart the mission, or like I'm not willing to just lose a mission and lose my stuff. But that's part of the game.
Yeah.
Like, it happens. And if you can't, I mean, maybe if you're good at it, it doesn't happen, but it definitely happens to me when I play it. And it's hard not to reload when that does happen.
Well, and so I ended up reloading a lot more than I used to now with this. So
I find it so interesting that you care about your people, because I feel nothing but resentment for early game XCOM characters. I hated them 5 years ago. I hate them today. They infuriate me. I give them shitty nicknames, and
I used to. Now I try to keep them alive. Now I start giving them names I like, and this comes strictly from playing the new ones, where I started building up, stories and attachments and stuff like that I never used to in this. This was more of a Darkest Dungeon style. Yep, some people are going to die and you're going to be okay with it. Like a lot of strategy guides, the first thing you do is you just hire 10 more people and you pick your top 10 and you fire everybody else.
That is something I usually do.
Yeah, I used to.
But now you're like, no, they're fresh out of training and they've got a baby to support. I can't fire.
It's more like, this is the hand I'm dealt. I'm going to go with it.
All right. I mean, if that's what you enjoy, I enjoy loading the worst person up with high explosives
And sending them in.
and sending them into the ship. But
What I'm interested in as we're talking about this, and everybody get your shots ready. When we talked about Auto Duel,
which
we would
time?
talk about there was a best strategy
Mhm.
where you could like eke up to the edge and then shoot cars as you trigger them. Like you'll see them on radar and you can move up, then trigger them
Mhm.
and shoot off screen and hit them before like you even see them. You can set all that up.
Mhm.
And that sort of optimized play style is the way people are going to play. And it is. I stand by that. But we're talking in here about the optimized play style. And I think the difference is, just in case someone's like, no, you said back then, because we get that every so often. The difference is the optimized play style in this is so long and so hard to do and takes so much effort, where the Auto Duel one takes no effort. There's no barrier to entry. Like coming up with a spreadsheet to stagger your guys so they don't get hit by, alien grenades. Way too much effort. It's much easier to just sort of eyeball it and go, I think they're far enough apart that they're not going to get smoked by a grenade, and keep that in mind. And you'll keep that in mind, and you'll forget every so often, and 5 of them will go down, and you'll be like, guess I'm replacing 5 guys.
Close together.
Keep them close together. Not that you have to, because as much shit as people give this game for being hard, you can save scum anytime.
Yep. You can save in battle. You can save going to battle. Anywhere.
Right.
Which is pretty generous.
It's pretty generous with that. And then I found out, listening to some interviews, if you do bad on 3 missions in a row, the alien war machine stops moving.
Really?
It stops moving. He did that because he needed to playtest the game all the way through. And it was the only way he could do it, like start a game and then finish a game. And he never turned that off. So that's just in there as part of the thing. Along with the bug where you can set it on any difficulty. The moment you save a game, it reverts to easy difficulty. And never unsets.
The upside, that's been patched.
Nope.
Are you sure?
100%.
I thought it was patched.
No, every interview I've seen has said that's not patched. And that what happened in Terror for the Deep is people were like, the hard difficulty is too easy. So they upped the hard difficulty and then fixed the bug on top of it.
Yeah. I blessed that bug, because even at easy difficulty, this thing is really not that easy.
It's not that easy, especially if you're coming into it for the first time.
Yeah.
But the thing you really have to keep in mind is what you're playing is not there's a definite high amount of tactical squad-based combat, but you're playing a management game. And if you can get into that management game, you're going to have a good time. And if you can't, you'll still have a good time. Who am I kidding? The tactical thing's kind of fun.
Yeah. If you can figure out the tactical screen, you'll probably have a pretty good time. If nothing else, you will feel things.
Yes.
You will definitely, it might be rage, it might be frustration, but every once in a while things will go right for you, and that, like, someone will make that auto shot and hit with all 3 bullets in early game. That's like mana from heaven. That's like the most unbelievable thing that can happen to you in early game XCOM.
Yeah.
Is cracking an alien with all 3 auto shots that have, like, what is it, like 2% chance of hitting or something like that.
Pretty
I think
low.
It's like 14 or 15%. I think it's really low.
Yeah. I lost it.
It's 420. What I was gonna say though about think about what you're gonna say while I prattle.
Yeah.
The thing about when you get your people in at the beginning and you figure out who your strongest players are and you fire the worst, that gets kind of tiresome through early game, when you lose people. So I often find myself doing that right at the beginning and then not doing it anymore. And like that's my bad. But you can get so in the weeds on having just the right people and just the right equipment and
But once people start, gearing up and getting good, you don't necessarily need to as much because they'll compensate for weaker team members. Because now you've got some people who've actually improved. So
right. Early game XCOM is different than late game XCOM.
I think the thing I wanted to say, because I'm like going through like our normal format here, and I'm looking at the graphics section. We don't have any notes on graphics, but I mean, yes, there's a comic book look to this, but especially in the tactical gameplay and like this guy in the background and the dark colors and the muted tones. This game and Terror from the Deep are horror games, and I don't think any other XCOM ever since has been. And it's one of the reasons why I can come back to this game even now and play it again, because this game's not afraid to just, your person's walking and a bullet shoots out of the darkness. And it's legit. It's not cheating you. You didn't check around and look for things, and this is sort of on you. And you could do things better if you took more time. And just somebody can be snuffed like that.
Yep. And it's scary because they like lurk in the darkness. There's aliens just like out there crouched in buildings, and like it's definitely alarming to see them out there.
Yeah.
Right. And to know that they're going to be hard to hit, and you've got so many people just sitting there out in the open. Like that's scary.
Well, and you get that last alien thing too, where you're like on a screen and there's one alien left, and you're like, I mean, you don't necessarily know that it's one alien, but you've killed like 5 of them in the game.
Right. You're at the end.
You're at the end, so you got to find these last couple. But you also know there's more of you than them. They will hide better, and the odds are they're going to get a shot off and take 1 or 2 of your guys out now. Like in the initial fight, like if you can set up a basically holding spot where you can fight out, you'll kill a few and it'll be sort of a fair fight. And then it starts drifting back to them where you're still going to win, but they're going to make you pay for it.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, you feel that.
Yeah.
Do you not use missile tanks?
Not usually, no.
Wow, that's so weird. That's like the backbone of my XCOM strategy is those tanks at the beginning. Not so much later.
Yeah, you taught me that like years and years ago, and I used to. What I don't like about missile tanks is I have gotten away from explosions in this game. Like, I know that makes no sense.
What do you mean, gotten away from explosions?
So when you shoot a missile, it blows up an area. And I sometimes need it to hit a spot because one of my guys is near it. And I hate being like, I guess that guy's dead either way.
Interesting. Well, I treat mine as the front line.
Right.
Like I send it out. Do you want to know a stupid thing?
Also, missiles sometimes miss.
Missiles miss as well. Yes.
Yes, and that can
missiles
go
kill
off.
Civilians.
Yeah, and your guys if they're standing in the wrong spot. So, I'm more into accuracy now. That's more my accuracy as opposed to volume.
That's noble. Huh.
Except for laser pistols, which is laser weapons when I played 5 years ago was maybe one of the last things I researched. Because
it's so weird because you get it at the beginning.
Like you get it, but you got to go through this, and you got to go through this, and you got to go through this, and by the time you've gone through all that, you have access to plasma research. So just jump right to plasma and skip the laser. But this time I skipped the med kits and the motion sensors and went right to lasers and got laser pistols. And I'm like, oh, these are submachine guns.
The laser pistol is nice. It's
Yeah.
fast.
It's
You can fire a lot with it.
a lot with it. You can put a lot of bullets in the air with a laser pistol. And it's inaccurate, but it's not that inaccurate.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I came around on laser pistols. That'll be a new change for me forever now.
The big thing I learned, and this is so obvious, and I'm embarrassed to even say it, at the very beginning, when everyone's in your ship, your Sky Ranger or the other one, have the person in back just look out the window. Like, I didn't know there were windows on the Sky Ranger. Like, you can see a ton of the battlefield just by spinning your back people around.
I totally knew that and didn't find it out just now.
It doesn't look like there's windows on it.
No, it doesn't. That's crazy, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It is a huge help because you see so much more of the battlefield before you get off the ship. I was like, duh, like of course.
That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
100% crazy. Um, Here's one of the other things I want to comment on. So we're going to go through this equip screen where I'm going to set people up, get them what they need. Because I didn't have a lot of plasma ammo,
Mm-hmm.
so I want to make sure they took their plasma rifle and a laser pistol.
Mm-hmm.
I wish this had a default equip state that you equipped them at the base. That is one of my complaints. Having to do this every battle, put the thing on their shoulder and put a laser pistol on their belt, and like, just let me equip that soldier.
Yep.
That would
And
be
save
nice.
save it.
And
It
save
would be huge because often you know who you want to be the heavy
right
person
Who's got
and
the
who you want to be a
strength and
scout.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that
the other
would
thing
be
I think is interesting on this is like they obviously have figured out palette swapping because they're giving these people different races, different nationalities, different everything in terms of their look on the screen. But when you go into the gameplay, everybody's white.
Yep.
And political commentary aside, that's really annoying for me to look at the battlefield and know who's who.
Yeah. It would be nice. Your only option is the armor. And
You want everybody to have good armor.
you want yeah.
So,
Armor is like the biggest thing that the biggest game changer for that combat, in my opinion, is having some armor.
it's a pretty big game changer. I'm going to stand by weapons, and I've said this to you in other games where you don't have to use armor if nothing's hit you because it's dead already.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe your guys are better shots than mine.
Well, I've also talked about the fact that some people don't even get off the ships.
Right.
So
One of
take
the things-
take everything I just said with a huge grain of salt.
I always do. One of the things I really love about XCOM is how the times that they link the parts of the game together, like the fact that the time of day and the combat mission and the landscape type depends on where the crash landing happened and the times where you're defending the base that you've built. I think that's fantastic, and it
Yes.
really makes it feel richer and probably wasn't difficult to implement, but it's great.
Yeah, and night missions are obviously harder, but God, they're 100 times more fun. They are. It's that shot out of the darkness. It's that what's in the cornfield, that just absolute dread of opening a door and going, I'm about to get blasted. That I will love about this game forever. It's. I know you and I used to like launch incendiary rockets into cornfields to burn out aliens and then hide around a corner and wait for them to come out because you can do the strategies of I'm going to do this and this and this and this, or you can just burn the cornfield down. Like this game does not oppose you just using raw force, just raw.
Yeah, and the environments are destructible,
Mm-hmm.
which is fantastic. Like you want to be able to burn things if that's your
Right.
preferred way of dealing with the situation. And
And
for me, it often is.
and you can just shoot into the darkness or something like that. Like I talked about the aliens getting some of my guys on the spacecraft where like I was going through a door and getting shot by them. Now on the UFO, there's not much you can do about that. You're going to have to go through those doors.
Hmm.
In a barn, however, you can get some people to like get the attention of the alien and like hide behind hay bales so it's shooting at them.
Hmm.
Send someone around back with a plasma rifle and just blow through the back wall and start shooting the alien.
Right.
That sort of fun breached entry, into the convenience store. You're not gonna like. There's no back door. There is now.
Totally. Yeah, I've come to love proximity grenades. I find that really
Those are cool.
a satisfying strategy because you can like figure out where they are.
Hmm.
The only thing I would caution against is throwing them in front of the door of the spaceship and waiting because you will sometimes wait
Forever.
forever. They won't come out, and
Yeah.
then you have to like select who's going to go set off the proximity grenade
Right.
and sacrifice themselves.
Can you shoot the proximity grenade? I don't know that I've tried.
I don't think so. You could throw another grenade on it. I've never tried that. That's a good question.
Oh, that would probably work. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. We should try it.
we should try it. The sound on this game is fantastic.
Hmm. Creepy music.
Creepy music. The aliens like death gurgle screams.
Oh, that's great.
And then the like hum of like the cyber discs sailing around. And once the game does a great job of escalating what the aliens are attacking you. Like you start out with the little gray sectoids and stuff, and they're a pain in the ass, but ultimately they
They're
are what they
spongy.
are. Yeah, they're spongy. And then you get the floaters, and you're like, oh, these guys are kind of a pain. And then they bring the berserkers who like stomp around, and each of them have a weakness. Like some are, more vulnerable to fire, more vulnerable to plasma, and so you might want to like tailor your stuff to them. And then the mutons, which are pretty strong, accurate, like shock troops, and then chrysalids.
Fucking
Fuck
chrysalids. I hate chrysalids.
Right.
They're super strong and they move really fast and they take over your guys.
Yep. And yeah, they take over your guys, and then when you killed the guy they took over, they turn into a new chrysalid. And they're doing this to the NPCs on terror missions as well. So,
Such a brilliant gameplay element, but I love to hate them.
oh yeah, they're fantastic to hate. They're definitely this. They really bring that terror. They have that
Right.
Ridley Scott's Alien vibe to them, not necessarily in looks, but in terms of this is going to get in me and make a new alien. This is going to get in me and make a new alien. And if I don't manage that, it's
They're
just
scary
gonna-
like zombies.
Yeah.
They're like lumbering. They can't shoot you, but like you feel them coming for multiple turns, and you're like trying to
take them
desperately kill them. I love it when an XCOM game goes shithouse and people start losing their minds and dropping their guns and just shooting randomly
Yeah.
and killing civilians and like they're getting mind attacked and all that stuff. It's so good. Like I play through situations where I'm not going to win
Mm-hmm.
because I really enjoy that kind of just like Darkest Dungeon.
I think that's the other thing.
Nightmare.
Losing in this game is fun. Like going back to the auto duel thing. Why is this different from that? You're still losing people permanently. You're still losing in this game is still fun. Just watching stuff spin out of control. It's watching a train wreck. You can't look away. You're just like, oh my god,
Right.
this
You
is so
feel
not what I
it's
want to happen.
nightmarish.
But I'm
Yeah.
intrigued as to what it is. And as long as you have one guy left, there's hope. That guy
Yep.
could pull his crap together and take everything out.
Or get back to the Sky Ranger.
That's what I was about to say. Or bug out. You can jump on the Sky Ranger and fly away and go, nope, I don't want to do this. Early game, terror missions, I'm like, nope.
Yep.
I'm just not gonna. Everyone will die. Sorry, Barcelona.
Right. Losing a terror mission hurts, but they're so hard at the beginning.
And so long, and you're not gonna win.
Yeah.
That said, I've won,
best,
but I mean, usually you're not gonna win.
you're not gonna get like excellent. You can do okay on a terror mission.
Let me ask you about this gameplay question. What are your feelings on turn units? As opposed to the new, new XComs are like you have 2 moves.
I like turn units. I wish that I think the pace of these combats would be better if you had more of them. I think they erred a little on the low side, but as a concept, I really like it. I wish the reserve buttons worked a little more consistently, because sometimes just the turn units it takes to turn around will fuck you, and you won't be able to make a shot that you desperately need to make, and that can be quite frustrating. But overall, I like it.
Okay. So you'd rather use turn units than the move and shoot or move and move, or?
I think I would. Would you?
I think so. Like, my only complaint with this, oddly, isn't the turn units. It's the clunkiness of the cursor. It's trying to get it to be where I want, and there's part of me that was like, well, is that because we're like in DOSBox and there's a whole... I'm like, nah, it was a pain in the ass back then, too. Like, it's always...
It's clunky. And managing the different levels of a map, too, can be quite challenging. Because, there's the ladder up and down buttons. And so there's like second floors on some of these buildings that you're skulking around right now. And it can get difficult to manage that. It does a pretty good job of helping you out and like going to the level that the alien's on if you spot an alien. So it's not bad, but
it's playable. It's definitely playable. It could be better, and one of the reasons it could be better is because we've invented new UIs and new interfaces since then. Like, this doesn't use mouse wheel. In the shops and in scrolling up and down levels, that would have been huge to just be like, I want to go up to here, click here, that sort of thing. It basically would have having a mouse wheel would have removed 4 of the buttons on that screen.
And there's a lot of buttons on that.
There's a lot of buttons on that screen. So yeah, just doing that would have removed 4.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and right-clicking.
Yes.
Like, if I could have right-clicked on a guy and make them crouch. Or something like that. I've got to click on the person to get in an inventory, but I could easily, like, click on the person on the screen or click on the guns on the right and left. Like, that also would have been fine to inventory. Center on the person. Like, there's options. There's things we could have done to get rid of most of these.
Yep, there's the guy on a roof, so you can see it like popped you up automatically, which is great.
Yeah, because you got the little one down there, like, who are you aiming for? Bam! Eat it, chump.
You're at a good place in this game where you have some people that are leveled up. You have armor.
Yeah.
You have kind of a honeymoon period where you're gonna do well.
Yes.
That's hard to get to, though.
Yeah, it definitely is a power curve of like, oh God, everything's awful. Oh man, I've got it under control. oh, I need to end this game or I'm going to lose.
Yep.
The instruction book's good. I'll say that. But
There's
I
a
would buy the Player's Guide, the thick How to Beat XCOM book. Because it really breaks down, like, what does kneeling do for you? What does,
right.
this do for you?
All the math of this game is known. Like, there's guides that tell you how many days each research takes and where to find the file if you want to cheat and edit the file for research. So, it's you can know everything about this and play your game that way.
Optimally. I
What's
wouldn't
that?
recommend it for your first try, though. If it's your first
No.
try, just sit down and go into it knowing that it is a global war that you get to fight individual battles
Hmm. Yep.
on. Here's a question for you: Pinnacle and Pit.
Um, the pinnacle with XCOM always for me is executing a perfect maneuver. Like
Mm-hmm.
coming off, I had a night mission. I came off the Sky Ranger. I saw an alien in the darkness, and I'm gonna throw a light thing at it instead of just throwing person after person. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna do the thing I always do, where I stop walking as soon as I can and then block everyone up on the Sky Ranger. So I devised. I'm gonna plan it, and I planned it, and I executed it, and I killed the alien.
Yeah.
Uh, and that is always the times in XCOM where you're like, this is amazing. It's super fun. Uh,
Yeah, this is
it
where
just works.
the simulation aspect and the turn units give you something that the move and move, you know, move minor action from D&D style doesn't give you. My Pinnacle is still from long ago, but it was so good that it will never not be that. And that's, I saw one of those berserkers down an alley, and I had two people in the alley. So the first guy primed a grenade to run out and throw, and he ran out and got shot and dropped right at the edge of the alley where the other person was going to get blown up by the grenade. So she ran out, picked up the grenade and threw it, and then ran down another alley. That's an amazing emerging story that
Hmm.
I don't know that I'd ever get in another game,
Yep.
because this is simulating the battlefield as opposed to gaming the battlefield. And
Yep. And you feel the chaos in those moments too.
mhm.
Uh, that moment where my people went nuts and started shooting, like that was actually a pit, or I mean a pinnacle
Yeah,
peak,
yeah,
because it just went so shithouse,
yeah,
and it was like a nightmare.
yeah.
Like, this person's screaming, there's civilians getting shot everywhere, like, and I was like four moves off the Sky Ranger.
Yeah.
It's just like it's just a nightmare when it goes wrong.
I wish the graphics reflected the nightmare slightly better. The nighttime does, but the bright colors and the comic bookiness of it, I don't know if that hurts or helps.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, on one hand, it really puts you in two mindsets. So you swing back and forth wildly between heroes and victims.
Hmm.
On the other hand, I feel like an edited choice on those to really pick one direction and stick with it might have been better.
Hmm. My pit was just misclicking, turning when I didn't want to turn, and then not having enough time units
Mm-hmm.
to shoot a person that I wanted to shoot. I was like trying to click on a different guy, uh, and I just like missed him or whatever. It's just it's so disappointing when stuff like that happens, and it happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
But like that's my fault.
Mm,
It's not really the game's fault, but like the interface is not really
not great.
great.
Um, a game like this that has a better interface but still doesn't quite capture this is Xenonauts.
Hmm.
And I want to mention that because the one thing I just think Xenonauts in almost every aspect is a pale comparison to this game. It's got a lot more stuff, but it's definitely like we're fans making an XCOM project.
Hmm.
I'll be interested to see how Xenonauts 2 goes, but for the most part, it's that. Like, it's lacking layers to the map. It's just one flat level and things like that.
Hmm.
It, however, to me, did the air combat way better. Like, when
Mm.
you start going after, when your interceptors catch up with the alien UFO, there's firing arcs out of each. And so you're trying to, like, real time, but also sort of like paused real time, move them around to get your firing arc behind theirs
Hmm.
so that you can actually take down the UFO without getting hit. So some good tactics will make even a bad plane good against the UFO. So you can bring two interceptors into the fight and have one like luring it away while the other one's coming around behind. And you've
That's
got some
cool.
things like barrel rolls and stuff you can do to help evade. Um, I love that air combat as opposed to this air combat, which is okay, you're in front of a UFO. Do you want to attack hard, normal, just pick at it, or do you want to run away?
Hmm.
You can follow it too, but I mean,
Yeah.
which of those do you want to do?
Yeah.
It's like, I wish there's a little more to that, considering everything else is so tactical. We've decided to
Right.
phone in air combat.
Right.
You
And the new ships don't really feel that
right?
cool because you're just doing the same thing, just like they just don't get destroyed by the bigger ships. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
they have more hit points.
Yeah,
Whoopee.
I agree.
Okay, what's your pit? What's your pit?
I just said the
Oh,
misclicking incident, getting kind of foiled by the interface a few times. It's frustrating. What was yours?
oddly, my pit for this one is that I like XCOM 2 less now.
Yeah, the modern. Is
Like,
it for Axis who makes
yeah,
those?
I still like the modern XCOMs, but
Hmm.
going back and playing this and just feeling all the feels again, and
Hmm.
knowing that it's not something that's lost. It's not something A you can't find anywhere, and B picking the game up and playing it again makes me feel just like I did the first time. I still
Hmm.
had a good time. I still,
Nice.
maybe modern gamer sensibilities won't get into the turn units and the sluggishness of it, but if you're someone who likes a long, in depth, roll up your sleeves game, this is still good. If you like a
Yeah,
strategy and tactical elements merged together in a game, this is still good.
it is still good.
Yeah. If you want more management and Sims level and less uh, actiony game play for fun level, this is really good. This makes you feel like you're really in a battle as opposed to gaming a system.
Hmm.
Unless you do those things you were talking about everybody else doing, which is okay, I need to put my spreadsheet so I'm in the system.
Yeah,
But
right.
if you play with what the game provides, you'll get that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, the new ones feel so dependent on cover,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so much cover everywhere. Like there's not a lot of cover comparatively in this game. You cannot eke cover to cover up to one of these ships like you can in the new one.
No, and you can tell that the new one, though random, is still designed with cover in mind. Like the ships
Hmm.
are designed to give you cover at certain space. It's designed to have that build so that you can play cover to cover.
Hmm.
Where there is a great feeling in this one of I'm gonna run across an open farm field to get to the UFO from the Sky Ranger, and there's no cover.
Like
Hmm.
that feeling of you just have to do it. So maybe you get out a smoke grenade, or maybe you send
Right.
everybody split maneuver to just hope somebody gets across. Like you have to compensate for the situation at hand. Where in the new ones, they design the situation in hand to be playable.
Hmm.
I mean, you still can get completely XCOM'd by like missing a 90% shot, but
Right.
it's not the same. Here's
Yeah.
something I think funny. Like, there's no windows on the Sky Ranger, but you're saying you can look out. There are
Hmm.
definitely windows on the UFO you can't look in.
You don't get to look in. That is a valid point. Hmm.
Um, would Having played XCOM Apocalypse, the two of us, do you ever think this should be real time?
No.
No,
No, no.
never
This
real
game
time.
is this XCOM is exactly how XCOM should be, I think.
Yeah,
Any changes, I mean, short of the loadout thing that you mentioned earlier, that's really
yeah,
one of the only things I would change about this. And like maybe you could do some stuff with this interface, but really, once you know this interface, it's serviceable as long as you're
hmm
just like really careful about where you click.
yeah. I mean, this is a DOS game, so the mouse is mixed responsiveness. A modern
Mhm.
mouse interface wouldn't take anything away from this game. A modern UI
Sure.
wouldn't take anything away from this game. Those aren't the things that define XCOM. Um, I question if you can change. There's the first guy buying it, boom, out of
Yep.
nowhere, and still don't see who shot him.
Hmm. It's time to send the next one.
Who's on the next one? Um, like, I don't know if you could change the graphics because there is a certain amount of, because it's pixely, because you don't even see their eyes or their mouths or anything, you can abstract into the situation a little more. But I
Hmm.
do wish it was slightly less comic booky. Like a little grittier would have
That's
helped
fair.
the aesthetic. Um,
That's very fair.
and I think if this had come out in 1994 after X Files instead of before it, that is exactly what we would have gotten.
Hmm.
But because this came out in 91 when XComs and bright colors and everything were still a thing,
Hmm.
we didn't.
Yep.
So I want to look through before we do this. Let's look through some of our old notes.
Oh yeah, from 5 years ago.
Yeah,
Let's
ask what your
see.
research priority was.
Yeah, still plasma.
Still plasma.
Always plasma.
Always plasma. I asked about the intro cinematic. I think I hated it at the time. I'm starting to love it. Although it does
Hmm.
set the wrong tone, like I just said.
Hmm. Combat basics. Terrible interface. No,
Yep.
no percentage information. That's true. It doesn't tell you.
Innocent bystanders, more like in the way standers.
They
Oh,
do. They stand in your way.
they do. When you're on a terror mission, something you're like, I need a shot, and then one guy will just like walk by. I need to get these cans of beans. Like, why are you here?
Yeah.
Run, you stupid son of a bitch.
I'm scared. I'm gonna stand right at the warehouse door so
Yep.
no one can get in or out. Okay, thanks. That's why I send in the rocket launcher for that shit.
Yep.
Yeah, the
Uh,
civilians killed by XCOM operatives is a tough pill to swallow sometimes.
Getting to second base.
We were funny in our notes.
We were funny in our notes, but I don't even think I build a second base anymore.
Really?
Yeah, why bother? I'm gonna sell arms
That's
to make my money.
that's crazy. I always try to prioritize base building.
Nope. I now like build up my one base, defend it, and just
That's interesting. It never occurred to me to not do that.
sorry, India and China, you're on your own.
Yeah. Right, you're writing off whole hemispheres of the globe, and I guess I'm not like that.
No.
Man, you are just sending people through this meat grinder.
I just could not take fucking hits.
I know. That's how it is.
Flying suits I thought was cool. Psionics I rarely use.
I never use psionics. Who's got the time?
I want to, but it just boom. Like, why
Number
did I
3?
kill 3 people? Like, why did I do that? And now I'm sitting
Because-
here angry.
I can tell you exactly why you did it. Because you had visions of them busting through that door and like you
Yeah,
get so
rambling
like
it.
task oriented on defeating that last guy that it makes you rush.
Mm-hmm.
I also rush all the time. Now you're gonna do it again.
Man, we started out strong on this channel. Our next game was System Shock after this.
Yeah.
Those are two solid games. I love the computer banks though. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
see,
love
it's
everything.
not like
about the
this
Village.
guy's like edging his way forward. Like, I know there's somebody out there. Oh, and make sure you reserve units to snapshot because
Gotta reserve those units.
and if you don't have that clicked, they won't. Even if you've got the time, they won't shoot.
Mm-hmm. That's annoying.
That is annoying.
I
So
think that's all I have to say about XCOM.
I think that's all I have to say about XCOM. You know, I like the new ones a little bit less. I think they're still good. I like turn units. It's a good spooky game. It never really lived up to this one again, though.
I agree. Even Terror from the Deep didn't live up to this one.
Terror from the Deep was a reskin by definition. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they came to him and were like, you got to make a new one. You got 6 months. And he went, no. Not,
Stick it underwater.
yeah, well, he's like, it would be a reskin, and that's about it. And if that's all that's going to happen, you guys do it. So I don't remember what the company was that was over Microprose was like, we will. And it still took him a year and a half to reskin the game,
Yeah.
which is funny considering they canceled it originally and didn't tell him that they like. Microprose was like, we're going to just shut our mouths about hits getting canceled. Like.
Bless Microprose.
Yep. Good call, guys. Thank you for an entire genre of game. Boo, boo, boo.
Ah, no, he got the door treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
And still lost 3 guys. Still a good rating. Still did okay.
Yep. It's all okay.
Yeah, because you add up all the points and you're like, oh, those 3 aliens were worth the Illyrium we got, so
Mm-hmm. It's all accounting.
all accounting. So yeah, you can see here on my base building, I built it so that people have to funnel through that radar room and I can shoot them there. All right. Yeah, that's all I've got to say. So I should do.
What's
this.
next? What's next?
Turn this off, and then we are playing Death Rally for our short game. We'll talk about that in a couple weeks. Have you
Stay
started that up
tuned.
yet?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
No, I'm gonna though, because I'm excited about the Death Rally.
Okay. Our next game.
Ooh.
So you want to be a hero? Quest for Glory 1.
I loved this series growing up, so I'm super excited that we're playing this.
Yes, this will be fun. I used to play this in the computer lab at college when there was not a lot of people in there. And I'd get people looking at me like, why are you in here doing this? I'm like, there's 15 empty chairs. You're fine. Just if it gets
Yeah.
crowded, I'll leave. So
Yep, pull up a chair and watch.
pull up a chair and watch. And we'll be back to Knox in a week.
Yeah. And that's what's going on.
That's what's going on with us. And that's all I got to say about it, I guess. Because I don't know, man. I don't
Yeah. I don't know either.
All
I
right.
know what we're doing.
No, just stumbling along. And glad you
Yep.
guys are joining us as we stumble.
Yep. 5 years, you know.
5 years. How funny would it be
All
if I was just like, and this is our last episode.
Book ended with
Surprise.
XCOM, and we're out.
And we're out. Just fade to black, play something. Yeah.
We'll be
But April
playing-
Fool's was a couple days ago, so.
Yeah. We'll play XCOM again in 2026, and hopefully you're all there for it.
Right. Well, maybe we'll pick your favorite game, whatever it is then, because apparently it's not XCOM.
No, it's Dung
Dung
Beetles.
Beetles. Heads. I know you love
Heads.
that Heads. You were all about heads.
I loved it. I loved Heads. HEDZ. We gotta play it.
We do got to play it. Maybe will be our 10-year anniversary. Heads for Matt.
Just for me. For no one else, because no one
Oh
else
yeah, I'm not
likes it.
playing it. No one else is playing it. We'll just come and let you talk about Heads for an hour and be like,
Yep. It'll just be me going, isn't this awesome?
look, you can change his head.
It's the heads. You get the heads. You run around. It's fun.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Whatever.
All right. We'll talk to all of you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Big thank you to all of you watching, sharing, liking, subscribing, suggesting games, commenting on our videos, or supporting us on Patreon. We appreciate all of your support and look forward to sharing many more videos with you. Thank you again.